Hi folks, Tom Garrity here at psychsafety.com, your psychological safety nerd. Today I'm going to be talking about blame. Now, in loads of our workshops and work with organizations and teams all over the world, blame for mistakes, blame for errors, blame for adverse outcomes and failures comes up as one of the primary causes of a lack of psychological safety or damage to psychological safety. But it is a bit of a misconception to believe that psychological safety means a blame-free or blameless culture. So we're going to dive into this idea today, excuse me, and look at what blame really means. Is it ever fair? Is it useful? And what can we do around blame to better work with it and acknowledge it? So first of all, let's take one example. Let's imagine we employ someone to work in our shop, and they're stealing from the till. We discover they've been stealing cash from our till. Now, in that sense, it is entirely fair and maybe useful to assign blame to that individual. They intended to steal from us. They took something from us, and they broke the rules. They not only broke our rules, but they broke actual legal rules as well. So blame in that sense is probably fair. But in most cases in organizations, blame is applied maybe excessively or inappropriately. And let's have a look at this case. So now, at Psych Safety, we use this term blametropic or blametropism to demonstrate how inclined we are as human beings to assign blame. We have a natural desire to blame people and things as well. We have a natural desire to try and blame people for doing something wrong or for an adverse outcome, and we also have a natural desire to try and find a root cause, a one single thing, or one smoking gun that went wrong and caused this failure or this adverse outcome. We have a sort of innate need for this social justice. That means we can point the finger and say that is a bad person and we blame them for that thing. We also have this desire for a root cause, and we tend to find that in investigations a lot of the time, even when many people are working within systems and in complex socio-technical systems, and something goes wrong, the investigation sort of carries on and carries down these various paths until we can say the human did it. That person did something wrong. Often, whoever touched it last, they did it wrong, and we're going to blame them as a result. Now, this also connects very strongly to the fundamental attribution error, which is assigning to character that which can be better explained by context. Now, let's say we're driving along and someone zooms past us, nearly cuts us up, and they're going too fast for the conditions, and it seems like wildly inappropriate and unsafe. And we might think, oh, they're a terrible driver, they're a nasty person, they don't care about anyone else on the street. In fact, maybe they're rushing their pregnant wife to hospital who's literally giving birth right now, or they're taking someone with a heart attack to hospital. Maybe there is some really good explanation for what they're doing. That's the context. We tend to have in fact, many social psychological studies have consistently shown that humans have a strong tendency to overestimate internal factors such as people's disposition and personality, and underestimate external factors like context that drive behavior. So we need to be really aware of that. We need to be really aware of the fundamental attribution error. There's also a thing called the group attribution error, which is where we sort of assign the same thing to groups of people, and this is where we might say we might believe instinctively or otherwise, and this connects to stereotypes as well. We might believe that, let's say, software developers are all nerds, or all teenagers are lazy. We might take a group of people and assign a certain characteristic to them. Now, that's unfair, and it doesn't take into account context of the way of the environment that they're in and what they're doing. So we need to understand why the human in the system did the thing they did. When it comes to failure and blame, we need to understand why that person did that thing. This connects to local rationality, which we've covered in other videos as well. But fundamentally, local rationality is about making ourselves aware of the context. People do reasonable things based upon their skills, knowledge, understanding of the situation at the time, focus of attention, and things like that. Local rationality. People do things that are rational in the local context. this so there's a connection. So we should get back to blame. Really, is blame fair, or is blame useful, or is it both? Maybe now we should consider when we're blaming someone, because we have this blametropism. We're inclined to blame. When we recognize that that desire to blame, are we doing that because it's useful, because it's a valuable thing to do, or are we doing it because it makes us feel better? And there are some cases, there are some people in the world of safety as well who suggest that blame can be useful for learning. Being blamed in the context of a failure or doing something wrong can be useful in order to better change behavior in the future. And to some degree that can be true. That pain of the blame, that an appropriate level of blame, either imposed by others or imposed by ourselves, may be a powerful way to embed behavior to change and sort of remind ourselves to do it better or differently next time. However, there are two key dangers with this approach. One is that it's very easy to overdo blame, and in this case, you may end up fostering resentment. We may end up fostering resentment and damaging confidence in someone's ability or self-worth, which can lead to poorer performance in the future, damage team culture, and affect mental health and well-being, and have many other bad outcomes. What's more, is that publicly imposed blame is even more likely to teach others to hide their mistakes, because if people see people being blamed for a mistake, they don't see constructive change occurring. What they see is punishment and negative consequences for failure. So it means that other people in the future are more likely to hide their mistakes rather than suffer those blame consequences. And of course, this, even though it may have actually better affected behavior change after that one case, what we're doing is potentially limiting or destroying, in fact, the ability to learn from future events. And there are a lot more future events than that single event that happened there. So we should be really careful that we're not destroying our capability to learn from future events. In this sense, in this sort of blametropic sense, what we tend to encourage at Psych Safety is instead of a blame-free or blameless culture, because that's not realistic. It's naive. We are inherently blametropic, and there are some very small cases, edge cases, where blame is appropriate. Think Lucy Letby or Harold Shipman, or people who are stealing and things like that. So in that sense, it's better to be blame aware than it is to try to naively be blame free. So blame awareness is better than a naive approach to blame free or blameless cultures. Just to revisit blame, what we mean by blame often, and the sort of phrasing that we use, is blame is accountability without context. We've got another video that dives into sort of what that means. So given that blame is accountability without context, blame is sort of negative consequences being imposed without regard for the context in which people make decisions. What can we do, right? So this again comes back to local rationality. Consider the context in which people are behaving, and consider when we feel this desire to blame, are we attempting to blame? Are we blaming because it makes us feel better? Are we blaming because it feels good? Is it making us feel better as people? Or is it actually going to constructively change and improve the future for us and the people around us? Is it actually a constructive thing to do? So is blame fair, or is it useful? Rarely fair, rarely useful, but sometimes appropriate, maybe is the lesson. I don't know. Let me know let me know what you think in the comments, and head over to psychsafety.com for more information on psychological safety and blame and other concepts and other tools. Download our resources, join the communities, join a meetup, sign up to our training, and do all the other stuff, and like and comment and subscribe and do all that stuff. And I'll see you next time. Thank you, folks. Bye bye.